Okay then, here we go, phase 2. So on the other video I showed you phase 1, which is definitely weeks 1 and 2, possibly, let's just change it to that, possibly 3 weeks, but the 3 weeks you're kind of transitioning into phase 2. So phase 1 is really important. It's the most important stage. It's where the children learn to use duck hands, speech, sound, lines and numbers. They're starting their lowercase letter formation, using phrases, numbers formation, using phrases, etc. So it's just easier to learn. They're looking at their monstered name, so they're thinking about the duck hands for the speech sounds, the speech sound lines, the numbers for their names, like I showed you in phase 1. Oh, ah, ah. And that will also help to develop concepts and to get rid of some stuff that you need to get rid of. Like, for example, the most important thing is letter names. The most important thing in this is the sound value. So, Lara. And as we talked about in the other one, you know, for example, the actual R letter name, well, the sound value for this A is the R sound. So what we're doing with names, especially because they're monstered, is we're getting rid of a lot of rubbish that the children got before, where mainly it was looking at letters and saying a sound rather than thinking, well, this is actually the word Lara. So what do we know? We know in this word Lara, we've got duck hand, Lara, speech sound lines, Lara, Lara, numbers, Lara. We'd put the monsters on here to show the sound value. So monster that says monster R that says R, monster that says monster It should be the schwa, but we said about the blue cow. And then we think, okay, so what are the pictures of the sounds? Well, the picture, the graphemes, the picture for the sounds in this word here, this L, so that's the letter name, which is just a label, but this is just a picture for this is the picture for R, this is the picture for this is the picture for in this word. And that's the big concept, isn't it? Whoops, sorry. That's the big thing to remember in this word. And that's what we're discovering in phase 1 in this word. So phase 1 is all about the monsters, but when we show words, we're saying, regardless of the fact that we haven't actually gone into our explicit phonics, we're saying, oh, look in this word, what's the picture of the sound? Show them the word, there's the picture of the sounds. It's all about concepts. We are concept driven. What am I going to do? Tell Lara she can't learn about the mapping. She can't learn about the mapping of her name until she's in grade 2, because the A in her name represents the R sound, and that's the schwa that they might not even look at in reception. Oh, anyway, it just doesn't work like that. You've got to have concept driven, and as the children, whatever is relevant to the children, whatever comes up, you seize those opportunities to map. The children are learning all of the monsters.
Hello, boys and girls. It's Kenzie. Let's do the monster moves.
This monster says This monster says ah. This monster says This monster says ah. This monster says This monster says This monster says E.
E. E. E. E. E.
This monster says
in their names, and also the priority is getting ready for the explicit instructions. So the priority is also going to be these monsters. So monster, these are big because I take them out in the playground. You know, who can find monster? Can you run to pin in the right order? So they'd run to monster P first, then monster I, and then monster etc. So we're doing all sorts of games, but these monsters, so we've got S, A, T, P, I, are the priority because they are going to lead us very nicely into the explicit phonics instruction. So they're going to learn the spelling routine with just monsters because there's no point doing it with the graphemes yet, but they need to do it with just the monsters.
Aria, ready? What's the word I'm going to give you? Pan.
Pan.
Great. Can you find it on your visual prompt chart first and circle it? Excellent.
Pan.
Beautiful.
Pan.
Excellent.
Down, down, it's when you know, up and over, in and out. Hark the snowman, I hear you shout.
Beautiful.
Pan.
You were tan, tan. Don't forget to sleep. That's it. Brilliant. So any word in our handbook that is our visual prompt word, the children are going to be able to do the monster routine. So here's your handbook for phase 1. So the children are going to be able to do the monster routine for any of these words. Say it, duck counts, lines, numbers, etc.
Duck head. Beautiful. Very good. Good, Charlie James. I like the way people are playing it.
I did it.
Did you play it? Make sure it's correct. Oh, very good. Okay, play it for me.
It's half
So all of those words are built using s, at, p, it, n. And you can see I've even got the monsters on the graphemes, on the sound pics, to say to the children, that's the letter A, but this isn't, the sound value is A in this code level, in the green code level. And it's really important that they see that embedded, because like Lara wouldn't have that monster in her name, would she? Because she hasn't got an A sound. So we've already been looking at that. The children have already, so the children who aren't ready have just been going tin to practice. Do you know the monster sound? Can you blend it? The children who can are already looking at sound pics, so that if they see that word, they understand it is because the sound values are t, it, and tin.
Pin, p, it, pin, pin. At, pat, at, pat, pat.
Fabulous.
You can also do the monster routine. The monster routine in phase 1 is just monsters, but as we do the transition, we're going to go to use the sound pics as well. The
Monster routine for nap. Nap. Up. Nap. 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 Nap.
Pinch.
Pinch.
Pinch. Good girl.
Nap. Nap. Ta-da! I did the monster routine for nap.
So the children who were doing this, in the transition, we're going to be, I start introducing, oh, you know, we were listening for the sound t, I, n. When we say tin, listen for those sounds, t, I, and tin. The picture for t looks like this in the word tin, the picture for it, etc. So I'm introducing that round about the end of the first week. But as I said, the children who are ready to do that are already, you know, the children who are ready will be transitioning before you actually officially start transitioning. It depends on the children. Okay, so as we transition in, we're going to transition into phase 2. Phase 2, we want the children to be, when they're doing their explicit instruction, they're going to be doing specific routines. So we need to get them prepared for the routines, for the 30-minute phonics, for the speedy 6 spelling, for rapid writing, etc. So we need to get them ready. So during phase 1, we're moving them in, but the transition is really when we think about the monster routine with sound pics, so with the graphemes. So it's that extra step. They're learning to find their code level lesson in the app. So they're going to go down to here, this pink, which is our core phonics. And they're going to learn to go down. So here's the 2-minute monsters. So you'd have that on the whiteboard, or the 7 minutes if you've got time. These are things that you can put on the whiteboard to support your phase 1. Oh, and the rap, I haven't mentioned the rap. There's so much stuff. Peggy pencil, letter formation. Okay, so the children are going to learn to go to coding poster green, because that's the first coding poster lesson. And they're going to learn how to access it and play it, because in this 5 minutes, that's their phonics lesson. So they are going to have their headphones on and they are going to watch their phonics lesson.
Get ready on the home page. Everybody together. Well done, ready. Need your helping.
I was supposed to be working with too high.
Let's see. Everybody ready, Joey?
So I forgot my whiteboard. Did you make all these monsters? Was it so hard?
Yes, it was so hard. And to think of their music, what the music that they loved, because their music kind of matches them a little bit, doesn't it?
Hey, let's see if I come over here.
One, two, three. Eyes on me.
1, 2, 3, eyes on you.
I need to see everybody's eyes looking up here. Now, I'm just checking, is everybody on the home page of the app? I can see, oh, this one's not. We need to go right back to the home page. And you need to go back to the home page. We're all starting together all at once. Now, we need to press the spot down the bottom that's got the green monster eating the laptop. Can you all press that button, please?
That's okay, Dennis. You did it last time.
Excellent.
It's okay.
Now I want you to scroll down to the green code level video. Scrolling down, girls, to the green code level video.
We already did.
Then
you pressing it up.
It's okay. We're good now. Well done. Next time.
Okay, press play and off you go.
Now, this is what's so unique. This phonics lesson, the green code level, is going to go through all of the things that the children are then going to do themselves on the coding poster. So because they're at the green code level, in their 5-minute lesson on the green code level, they're going to go through the graphemes, grapheme recognition and letter formation. They're going to go through these decodable words. That one's a schwa, isn't it? That's introducing a concept. So they're going to go through the decodable word at, sat, at, pat, put, it and pin. But this is with the teaching. So this is the teaching when they come to do the coding poster. And this is when, so you've got high frequency words there. So you've got duck level 1, etc. And then if you're on the green code level, these are the sentences the children are going to read, because these just have the graphemes in the green code level, at, itten, represented by SATPIN, and a few of these high frequency words, and they're going to read the sentences. So we've got grapheme, formation and recognition, blending and putting it into actual sentences. So they're going to learn to find their coding poster video and watch it. If you've got children that come in and they are obviously already recognise these, they might recognise these. You might find that actually that child is going to start, even though it's only week 3 or whatever, they're going to start on their yellow level coding poster. Because it would be madness if a child in week 3 of reception already recognises these graphemes, because perhaps they've been doing SSP in preschool or whatever else. They can demonstrate to you, they can go ad mad, at man, dog. Those children don't want to be learning about this. That's why you can't do a scope and sequence. You can't do a lesson planning to say, right, today we're going to learn about these graphemes or whatever, because what about the children who need more time? What about the children that are so much further on that they're on your term 3 planning or term 4 planning? So if necessary, the children who need to will start on perhaps the yellow code level so that they're focused on these graphemes, using them in words and putting them together in sentences. Yellow code level sentences with the graphemes that they are looking at. So the reason that we want them to find their coding poster video is because we want them working at their level and to know exactly where to find the resources in the app. Parents can use this app at home, so they can practice at home if they want to. So they're learning to find their code level lesson. So it's about, if you say to the whole class, open the app, find your code level lesson, or find the green code level lesson, the children know exactly where to go. No stress, everybody knows what they're doing. And that's in the I Can Read Without Your Lessons app. They're also going to learn to use the coding poster. In the transition, you've got to teach them how to use the coding poster. Because when you come to phase 2, which is round about week 4 of term 1 of reception, you're going to be doing your 30 minutes of phonics using a buzzer. So the buzzer dictates to the children, stop that activity, go start on the next one. And the teacher is wandering around the class, actually seeing what the children are doing. The teacher isn't teaching the phonics. Don't worry, it all works. So during this time, the teacher is actually saying, right, everybody, set up your station. Have you got your board? Have you got your pen? Have you got your coding poster? Because what they'll get into the habit of doing is they'll have their coding poster lesson, which is when they're taught the graphemes that are at their level without a teacher, a cheerleader, not the coach. Then the teacher will say, right, activity 1, find your visual prompts. So here are your visual prompts here. You see, these are the visual prompts that the children were looking at and building words in the beginning. So these are familiar. All of these can be used to build words in purple, yellow, blue, but you don't need to do it like that. But anyway, that's in the training sessions, training modules. But here's an activity that is just about phonemic awareness. So you'd say to the children, right, we're going to do this activity. Everyone's got their board, everyone's got their pen. Have you checked that you've got your board positioned like this? So you're not looking at anything you don't need to, it's all just there. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And then the teacher shows them what they're going to do on that activity. Then they say, right, everybody rub off your board. Now you're going to move down to here. And this is all, you can write on it because they circle it, do duck, cancel lines, numbers, all the rest of it. Then we go down to here. And so this is when they're going to learn how to go a, t, p, I. So they're going to learn how to do this, and then if they finished up to there, and they've got, because they only do about 30-60 seconds on each activity, so then they know, oh, I want to go to that. And on their coding poster lesson, it's not just about their coding their level. I also give them the next step up, because the children are always pushing themselves. So you'll see them going at, p, I, d, g, j, o, s, k, because they're thinking, because that's why the monsters are there. Because that on its own what does that tell us? It just tells us it's the letter C. But here it's saying it's a picture for, don't worry about the phonetic symbols, but it's just a picture of s and a picture of k. So that's why they're going s, k, etc. So again, it's another concept. And they do as many as they can in 90 seconds. So the teacher is teaching them, stop. Okay, rub off your board. And the children every day are seeing how many they got, because the next day they want to get even more. Because the goal for them is to be able to demonstrate to the teacher. The teacher will go, oh, you know what, tomorrow you don't need to start on green because you did those so well. Tomorrow, start on purple. And because they're starting on purple, they're trying to get up to a bit of yellow. When they've developed mastery, they start on yellow. So it's always about that individual child, and that teacher is going around as the cheerleader. So the teacher is teaching the children how to set it up. So activity 1, activity 2, I say each one's only, 60, 90 seconds. and is teaching them ready for phase 2. So when we get to here, the teacher will go, this one, just use your duck hands. Or they might say, this time, write it. So if they were just doing duck hands, follow the sound, say the word, cross it out. They might go at, sat, and they have to do it with 2 hands because they'll go, oh, I can't do it because I'm on the thing, but they'll go sat, and then they'll cross it out. At, pat, cross it out, etc. So they're seeing how many they can do. And as the teacher is going round, she's seeing how, or he's seeing how many the child did. If they've done these really quickly, again, they might say, do you know what? Don't start on green tomorrow, start on purple tomorrow. And in the child's mind, they're moving up a level, a code level, because they're trying to get to here, which means you're off your phonics. So, and as I say, this does it all in the training module. So when they turn it over, you might have whole class chants, you might have group chants, whatever else. Then you say, right, we finished that one, now go on to this one. So then when they go on to this one, follow the sound, say the word, or say it and write it. So they'll go the, and, is, on. Or it might be the, I, and, is, on, so, was, to, you. Here, see, and the buzzer goes, and everybody, no, because that's as many as they did. The next day, they're trying to get more. If they did these really quickly, the teacher will come to say to the person, tomorrow, start on level 2. So what the teacher is doing really is seeing how each child is going, so that teacher can say to the child, move up the next level. It's brilliant. And then the last activity, the children know, okay, put your board there. So this is all you can see. Now you're going to say it, scan it to yourself if you need to. So rather than the children going, the ant and the pat, they can do that themselves. They can say it aloud if they want. But the idea is that practice it until you can say it in a speaking voice, no robot voices. So until you can go, the ant and the pan. Is the pin in the pan? Is it a pan? Spin the pin. Pat sat in the pan. So it's just practicing fluency of those, blending those graphemes. And again, teacher goes round and thinks, do you know what? This child is reading these with such fluency, expression, whatever else. Tomorrow, start on the purple code level. And the teachers are seeing that from the transition phase, which is around about week 4 of reception, kindergarten.
A long way of understanding how to speak. You watch the don't have to go on order. You can choose anyone because I chose 10. Like, I did it. Hat. 1, 2, 3. I think that was one of the little things. Yeah.
Another one. You have to do your duck hands first, guys, so you're getting those sounds.
So on here that they know.
And the other one's your pen. Show me you're ready. So your writing hand and your duck hand. Go.
What was the word? What was it?
Gentle.
Good girl.
As you say it, mark it off. If you don't know one, leave it, keep going.
So they're finding the code level lesson, obviously watch it, learning to use the coding poster with guidance. So the teacher is literally saying to everybody, find this. She's checking everybody's got it, is in the right place. Saying go, then say stop, rub it off, because we will end up doing it with the buzzer so the teacher doesn't have to. The teacher could leave the room and the children will just follow the buzzer. They're learning to use speedy, solo, paired, group, follow the sounds, say the word, and this time they're using graphemes. So whereas before they could do it with just the monsters, now they're doing it with the graphemes, ideally monstered words. But they can do it with just the graphemes, and this is where you use text that is code level text. So for example, if the children are, let me put it back, monsters. So if the children are working at the green code level, they use a green code level reader to do exactly what to do solo or paired or group, follow the sounds, say the word. Now I like to use these because they're cheap and they follow the same order. So you know the first 3 books, the children can do it with this, so that they either follow the monster sounds to say the word. They still think of them as monster sounds, that these are pictures of monster sounds, even though the monsters aren't there, and even though this is, you know, pocket rockets. These aren't mine, these are pocket rockets. So the children are still going pit, pat, pit, pat. So what they do is they follow the monster sounds, say the word to the end of the sentence, and then they read it back in a speaking voice.
At the side. The at the dad. Dad is sad. Dad is sad.
Letters and sounds, week 2, day 1. See, that's interesting because what they're doing there is letters and sounds. They're saying week 2, so this is scope and sequence, this is lesson planning. And I'm saying ignore this because who knows what we're doing on week 2, day 1. Who knows? We don't know because we don't know the children. So, as I say, they can either do it on their own, pit, put at, pat, put it, pit, put at, pat. Pit, pat, pit, pat. Now to you that looks straightforward, but actually for a child who's just starting to look at them, that's a capital letter, so it looks a bit like the same, but it's higher up. This is a nice font. This is why I like to use these, but you might be using, you know, think about if you're using books that got a different font. Actually, no, that's still got an A. But different fonts where the A might look different or whatever. So anyway, I like these because it's got the font that I like. But that's quite difficult to do at the beginning because you've got to remember the sound value and you've got to blend it, and then you get to the end and then you've got to read it. So as I say, this exercise in itself, don't think this is easy because it's not. For some children it is, and that's the whole thing. If some children can already pick, if some children come in week 1 and can go pit pat, you know, pit pat, pit pat, pit pat, pit pat, etc., then why on earth are you giving them these? So, and these all align with the explicit instruction. So when they're doing this activity, they're having material that follows. You saw it in the lesson, they're learning about these graphemes. Coding poster is demonstrating mastery, not just recognizing them and forming them, but also putting them together, blending them. High frequency words also mapped, and putting into sentences at every code level. So this is your phonics code level. So, and where I hate that because you know they're just in isolation. The vast majority of the time you will see, well, just about all the time you won't see them in isolation. You'll see a picture of a sound with a word, because that is only a picture for in that word. It's not in sugar. That is only a picture for in that word. It's not in Lara. That is only a picture of t in that word. I don't mean only in that word, but it is a picture of the sound t in that word. In the word picture, it's a picture of a ch, etc. So use the Decodable Reader's Guide. This was created absolutely years ago. So, you know, this was what, 10 years, I don't know how many years ago this was. But basically what I did was I went through the available readers that I could see. So whether they were spelled, whether they were, see look, here are the books, whether they were pocket rockets, in. So it shows you, right, when the child is working at this code level, these are the readers you can use. So either grab them for the library, buy them. As I say, I like cheap ones because I want them out of the decodable readers as soon as possible. These were free, don't know if they still are. But it means that the material I have looked through to check it is suitable. Now, actually on here, what I did when I first launched the Speech Sound Pics approach, SSP, in Australia over 10 years ago, is that I was saying to the children, look, I know you're only looking at it, but what are the skills? The skills and concepts. The concepts are concept-driven. All spoken words are made up of speech sounds. So when someone says it can't be sounded out, well, that's ridiculous. Every word is made up of sounds, so of course you can sound it out. It's just use the duck hands. When we duck hand words, we're isolating these speech sounds and showing we can segment the speech sounds in the right order from left to right. When we talk, when we draw speech sound lines and number, then we're again representing how we talk on paper, even before introducing the sound pics, the letters, letter strings. Speech sounds can be represented on paper using pictures of speech sounds. So this is all your phase 1 concepts. If we took a picture of the speech sound with our magic speech sound camera, what might it look like? We say might from the very beginning. In this level, it would always be that that sound pic, as we have limited the green code level words to just 6 speech sounds and 6 specific sound pics. They will soon realise the code is not so simple, but we'll scaffold this learning. Speech sounds are represented on paper. Anyway, you can read this in the another time. So we've got all of this code level reading, which is basically just as a way to practice blending those target graphemes in meaningful context. Now, at least 90% of my children will be off all of this, off their decodable readers before the end of kindergarten, end of prep, end of kindergarten. Because because of the way we're doing this. You won't get that in a phonics program because of the way that is taught. So it's not that children can't learn to read really, really quickly and easily. It's because they're learning to read in quite a difficult way, because of mainly scope and sequence and trying to get children to, trying to get teachers to say, right, week 1, we're doing this, like I just showed you before. Let's just have a look at this. Letters and sounds. Week 5. Week 5, day 3. Right, okay, perfect example. Week 5, day 3. This is only a purple code level. So what they're doing here is they're covering graphemes each day. Like, if you look at the Jolly Phonics program, the original handbook said to teach 1 grapheme per day. So first day at, etc. And also said teach all 42. Don't know why they've missed out the other sounds, but teach 42 of those representations, 1 per day for the first term, and then start them on readers, which is absolutely madness. Absolute madness. Because what we're trying to do is teach children concepts. So you can't say week 5 we're going to do that, because you've got no idea if the children can use these and blend them, draw them, spell with them. Yeah, anyway, sorry. So scope and sequence is just absolutely awful. It's lazy. It's lazy because it's focused on what the teacher's going to do to make it easy for the teacher. It's not focused on the children and how children learn and the best optimum conditions for children to learn, which is the science of learning. Just whilst I'm walking past here, I always use these clear plastic things so that the children can show where the graphemes are. So kangaroo, let's map it. Kangaroo, Oh, that's that schwa, like in Lara's name. So k, a, ng, u. So that N represents the ng sound, whereas they will often see the NG. So here's your explicit. So they'll see the NG as a representation for but it's really important that when you're looking at text, that the children actually see, well, are the N and the G together there? No, they're not, because otherwise it'd be kangaroo. And that exploratory work is what we will be doing in Speedy 6 spelling. Now, just whilst I'm here, so that's your phonics. That's your just basic phonics. That's only about 100 or so high frequency grapheme to phoneme correspondences. And as you've seen before, they need to explore the whole lot. So this is the stuff they're going to learn explicitly, but the rest of the stuff is the really important stuff. This is just your kickstart. This isn't going to get them all reading. This is your kickstart, so they know what they're doing. But be concept driven, please. Okay, now on the code level readers, this is what actually happens. When they get to the end, around about the end of purple, as well as their phonics code level readers, what they're going to read is they're going to start on these books. So these books are part of 1, 2, 3 and away, and they're going to start on introducing reading through play, yes. So they're going to start on these pre-readers, but what they're doing is these have graphemes that the children are not looking at. But it doesn't matter, because the graphemes are shown and they understand this concept already, don't they? Even in the transition period, they understand in the concept of black, grey means there's a sound. Well, the monster show, there's a sound. And so that's a sound pic for that. That's, they aren't very on top of each other very well, are they? But here we've got monstered readers. So at the same time as their limited grapheme type readers, they're code level readers, they're also going to start on these at the end of the purple code level. The reason we do that is because by the end of the purple code level, they're already recognizing a huge number of graphemes really, and also concepts like, for example, that could be a k, like in at cat, that could be a like and etc. So they've already understood, they understand what we're doing, that we're mapping speech sounds to pictures of speech sounds. So here what we're doing is we're saying, right, well, let's do it with sort of books that have got actually a lot of high frequency words that it's important that the children really get to understand. So the children are going to be, so like here, they've already looked at a k there with cat, a k there with kitten, a k there like in Doug. Well, here they'll go, oh, there's another k, sk, all, but actually that ch for k would be in the middle of the cloud, because that's not kind of a high frequency one, but we're concept driven. We want the children to understand, and it's just a much quicker way for them to read. I can't get almost all children reading by the end of prep if I'm just doing this stuff. So round about the end of the purple code level, and all of this is in here. So if you're at home following the steps, step by step, phase 1 step by step, that's your phase 1 lessons, and that's where I actually teach them. So here shows the gold, the sentences, we're manipulating some phonemes, we're starting to read a green level reader. So if you go through, nonsense words, check, purple code level, talking about whether mouths, shapes make any difference for sounds, whatever, no. Chants, planning. Okay, so you see here when we get towards the end of purple, so we've been reading, readers. I've introduced a sound pic sandwich there, even though we're only on purple. Purple code level reader, dictation sentences, word hunt. Oh, come on, introduce to Fitzroy. Oh, Lara reads some Fitzroy. I like getting children as influencers. Okay, we're going to check on that. Now we're really on using the daily routine is working really well. Introduction to the village with 3 corners. So getting ready for 1, 2, 3 and away. So that's when you'll see ed red. Look, there's the monsters. So they can start looking at these books. And there's the one, which is the one I just showed you. Jennifer went to school. There, Jennifer went to school, and it's monster mapped. So they're reading those at the same time as continuing to read their phonics code level readers. And a big reason for that is because actually they're going to learn a lot of high frequency words that are again mapped. And you know, if you, as well as the coding poster, when they do the coding poster video, the coding poster, they can look at these and play games with these. So your sight words done differently, you know, you can do months of the year, days, whatever else, all of them are mapped. You. The act is on you. Thank you for mapping. Oh look, there's a again. So do you remember I said about kangaroo? Well, then if they had to map that, they'd know that because actually they've looked at the N as a in thank you. So it all links in because you're exposing children to concepts and letting their brains do their job. Have a sight word corner, sight words done differently. You know, do these as cards, you know, get the handbook, the sight word handbook, and create cards and games and all the rest of it. So the children are follow the monster sounds to say the word she. On the other side can be just the regular black, because what you're seeing is, can they store it? So if you then say to the children, oh, let me have your cards, and then you do a quick spelling test, when they write it, they're going to write it and they're going to know that that's not SHE, even though they are the letter names. They're going to see it as pictures of sounds, she, because we've got the sound value and the sound pics. And while we're always saying to the children, because we're concept driven, what was new for you? They might say, oh, I didn't know that O could be a picture for So I'd say to them, where's the So they could be building the word themselves, up and come. They might look at their own spelling cloud keyring to say, oh, can you find it? If you didn't know that O, have you not seen before a word where the O is a picture for Let's find it. It's in the purple code level. Look, there it is. What's the example word? Monday. So it's a different example word. You found up and come. Here's a Monday, which they might have explored when they were looking at the book Monday. And you could have had this on the board. Duck hand it. A Monday. What does it look like without any mapping? Monday. In the transition periods, working towards phase 2, the children need to look on the wall to find the monsters, like the They're looking for the monster. They're looking for the monster. That's all they're looking for, is the monster. So that's why I just said put the silly schwa next to it, because and that's always empty, because throughout the year you're collecting as many pictures for the silly schwa as you possibly can. In the early stages, they will have one of these on a table, so they're looking for, where's there it is, so they've got it there. It's visual. This is always the same order. Oh, that must be in Luca, where we were looking for A as an I, like in orange, or village. But they're also going to look here, so they're going to know exactly where those monsters are. So if I say, where's monster they're going to know where it is, and then they could go and have a look at it. As they become used to the order, that's when you can start to use the spelling clouds, because it's easy for them to find them, because they know, because this is the same order that's up here and that's on their spelling cloud mat. Trust me, they will get obsessed with finding new sound pics. Is it fun?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. That's the best way to learn, isn't it? Having fun. What do you love about SSP? Mr. Blue level.
OW has the sound pics out.
Show me. Cow. Wow.
Cheese and I like cheese are so confusing.
Well, that one's an O and that one's an ow.
Yeah, but there's another
This one, yeah, so that OW and OW. Yeah, so that one's...
and roll.
Oh.
And in the roll cloud it has...
So that's an ow, like cow.
Yeah,
and that's an O, like... Oh.
But it has the same sound.
Yeah. It has the same sound pics, that's right.
So...
same. It's just that we're looking at that one and that one.
I found 10 Sound Pics images in these two ones. And look, this one has the same sound in here and here.
Wow, show me. Show me again. So this one.
Yeah.
This one, and show me where in that cloud. Wow.
And that one too.
Yes, so there it's A, and there it's A, and there it's I.
Chair for chair. The same chair thing. Chair over there.
Wow.
And chair thing there. That's the same picture. And there. And up there. Miss Emma.
Wow. Yes, you saw it again. Let me see.
Miss Emma.
You're discovering so much.
I'm going to do my SSP videos.
Are you going to go do your SSP video? Show me. Go, go, go.
Don't get anything else out because I can't find it.
Miss Emma, I'll show you this.
Hold on, can I just have a look at the video? This is the brain training video. Although we're just updating it so that we can put it on an app. Wow, let me see. You're doing yours as well. Such fun.
I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
Where's my pen? I dropped it.
Just pause it a second.
I dropped my pen. I'm going to do SSP over there.
You're going to do this over there.
I forgot to. I dropped my pen.
Now, so you've started these at the end of the purple, around about lesson 53, if you're following step by step in the app. So once they get to yellow, they start reading these ones, Roger Red Hat. So they've got options in the library of monster mapped, code mapped, or just the regular book. So when they get to here, when they get to the yellow code level, that's when they're starting. So here's our 1, 2, 3 and away, which is great for sort of getting the children really obsessed with the reading because they love the characters, they get into the stories, it all builds so that they're reading stories about the village with 3 corners. That engagement, that interest is really, really important. So they've started these monster mapped, end of purple code level. So they're also doing the phonics at the same time as this. And no, it doesn't confuse them. And if you think it is, then you need to understand this, because otherwise you're going to block the children from learning. So they're starting Roger Red Hat introductory books once at the same time as learning this phonics and at the same time as reading the phonics books at the yellow code level. So for example, I'm not sure if you saw, there was a little girl had sent me her retell of this story, Roger and Rip, because Roger and Rip had gone out. And she loved the fact that, they'd gone to the pond and then Rip had gone into the pond, and she was so excited about the fact that, Roger had to pull Rip out of the pond and he's all covered in mud. So, of course, what happens when you go home? Well, he went home and his mum, Mrs. Red Hat said, "Oh, Roger," and sent him to bed, and she could relate to that because she got muddy. So... they're sort of like your leveled readers, predictable, repetitive, etc. But they're such lovely illustrations, such lovely stories. You can get so much rich vocab out of them. So we start these. So there's Roger and Rip. Sorry, I've gone past it. Roger and Rip. So again, they can read it online, monstered, code mapped, or ideally hard copy, at home, and they just get interested, they want to read. Now people say to me, oh, decodable readers are really lovely, and obviously I try to make them as lovely as they can. So like, here's one of mine. So when I do yellow code level readers, so I just printed this one off, it'll show the high frequency words here. That's the code level, so it's the yellow code level reader. So it means that I've mapped everything, ate and rain, it and in the other, woods, rain in the woods. But I've written them so that they're not sort of babyish, because I have a lot of older kids. I need to go back. This duck is splashing and singing in the rain. These ducks are happy. We are having fun together. This little fox is not having fun in the rain. He's freezing and looking for his den. What does den mean? Is it the same as home, whatever else, habitat? His den is in a tree, but he's lost his mum. Oh no, have you ever lost your mum in the supermarket or whatever else? I haven't got a mum. Who lives with you? Where do you live? Etc. We're having all these discussions. Mum sees him and gives him a piggyback. They get to the den quickly to dry off. And you'll notice k, w, ik, or e, because we make it as simple as possible all the time. You know, qu is not a sound, it's not a grapheme, it's k, w. They're two sounds, and that's why, although they're together a lot, which is why I've put them in here, it's still black-grey because it's still segmented. You know, don't change the rules. If we're saying simplify it, then simplify it. They get to the den, k, w, ik, or e quickly to dry off. You might see snails in the rain. You know, a lot of children love nature and they'll do a project on snails or whatever. Snails like the rain. Oh, sound pic sandwich. And that's why like is on the front, because we haven't actually got to the blue code level sound pic sandwich split var digraph there. So that's why it's not saying it's not, you know, decodable. Of course, well, all words are. What it's saying is it's here because you haven't quite met that yet, but you can do it. This snail is sitting on a mushroom. It is damp and misty. What's damp and misty? Do you think it's the snail, the mushroom, or the weather? This snail is lifting himself up onto the sopping wet plant. Sopping, that's a good word for wet. So what I'm trying to do is get the children to think about vocab. Can you think of another word, etc.? So they're cute. They're about the grapheme mapping, but it's about so much more. Pigs might like the rain because it gets very muddy. Pigs like mud. Oh, look at that. Some dogs like the rain. This puppy does not. How do you know these puppies like it and these don't? Does it say in the text? No, it shows us in the picture, and that's something that we do when we're doing snap and crack, which is comprehension activity, which I've just realised I've not put on the board. This pup loves running quickly in the rain. Splash, splash, splosh. Oh, who noticed what was different? Did you hear? Splash, splash, splosh. What's different? Sp or ash, splash, sp or osh, splosh. So, further manipulation. Can you change splash into splish? Can you take away a sound? Is there a new word? Etc, etc. These pups got wet in the rain and are drying off in a light green plastic box, waiting for snacks. Their snacks look like a fish. Do fish like the rain? So there are our high frequency words, but the rest of the words they can map because I've used just the graphemes here, here, and here. Now, when the children can read my yellow code level readers, or the yellow code level readers in the Decodable Reader's Guide, they will benchmark at around about a PM, benchmark at around about a 12. Even if you've never used this system before of testing, standardized testing. But we've got enough data to show that by the end of the yellow code level, that's the kind of reading level they'll be able to use and not guess at the words or whatever. They can actually map it. You don't have to read it to them first or read the title to them. Now, as they move through these, again, it's about, you know, actually getting engaged with reading. But when they get to the end of the main readers, 12, The House in Dark Woods, you'll find that the children will, if you then had to benchmark them, you'll find the children are at least 21, but somewhere between 21 and 25. And I want over 90% of children here before the end of their reception year. So if the children in my class, I want the children at least at around about a PM25 level before they get to the end of reception, certainly before they go into year 1. That will be around about 90% of children. I'll aim for 95, but you often have a couple of children who have got other things that are going on, which means that they might not be able to actually decode and comprehend and do all of the skills needed to read, because obviously reading is your phonemic awareness, your fluency, orthographic awareness, orthographic knowledge, comprehension, vocab, etc. They're reading through these till the very end of the purple code level, of the blue code level, but they're also starting these at the end of the purple code level. They start these at the end of the yellow code level, and they just keep reading through. So they just keep reading through, you know, proper little stories about characters they've been reading about for a while, and they're just absolutely lovely. Kind of that old-fashioned folklore, sort of not nursery rhymes, but, you know, thinking about real stories with morals and things you can really talk about, and, you know, they're just absolutely lovely. But by the time the children are reading these, this is what they're reading by the end of prep, end of reception. If you do it, if I'm doing it, if I'm teaching, let's put it that way. And that's because I would not let somebody tell me how to teach the children, because they don't know how to teach my children. I know how to teach my children in my class, and I know that all the stuff I'm showing you here works. So if the children are reading this before they go into year 1, grade 1, 90% of your children at least, hopefully 95, you'd be happy, wouldn't you? Okay, so back to transition. So we're transitioning through routine with sound pics. So we're around about sort of week 3, week 4 of prep. And this is where I'm leading them into, I need to be able to do the 30-minute routine round about sort of week 4, week 5 of term 1. And that means 30 minutes of, in the transition stage, I'm guiding them. But when it comes to phase 2 with sort of week 5, I want them doing it on their own with a buzzer, because then I'm actually freed up to go around, because I'm no longer instructing of how to actually do the activity. I'm going around and checking and say which of those children that have mastered a level, etc. So your 30-minute phonics would be speedy solo pair decoding, code level lesson, which is sort of 5 minutes long, coding posters, about 90 seconds on each activity, 12 minutes at the most, and then they can have a look at their duck level words, the high frequency words, whether it's the video. They're doing duck level words in their coding poster as well, but we want to actually teach them as well.
What, ow, goes, but I buy, foot or floor,
Get that?
Is. Stand. Hello, Stan. Speaky words. So, as we go into week 4, week 5-ish, all the children are doing all this at their pace. But by now, I know the children. I know which children are already whizzing through. I know which children I need really pushing. I know which children are showing me they might have dyslexia, they might have poor phonemic awareness, which of the children who are potentially ADHD, and we need that this stuff is actually really going to help with their sort of dopamine rush and their intrinsic motivation, because those children will often be totally switched off with your sort of traditional teacher at the front of the class. They're going to find things to distract, whatever else, because it just doesn't, teacher at the front of the class is just not going to meet their needs. But I know the children by now. I know their personalities, I know their names, I know their families, I know their dogs, their you know, I know their pets, I know what they love to eat, what they bring for breakfast, what they eat for breakfast, all of that kind of stuff. I'm really getting to know them during this stage. Okay, so we're really now sort of week 5 or so in term 1 of our explicit phase 2. This is where this kickstart really helps them get into that implicit learning stage, when they've got this huge orthographic lexicon, they've got this huge word bank already, and when they continue with certain activities, or they use Lingualet if they're doing back on track. But let's talk about this. So let's talk about this phase 2, where I am no longer guiding them. They know what they're doing, and I am really there as their cheerleader and checking what they're all doing and catering everything like the Speedy 6, rapid writing, snap and crack to their needs. I need to kind of think, if I was doing this with one child, would it look the same? And it should. Because everything you do should be as if that's your one child. You just happen to have 30 of them. And that's why I do it like this, because I can meet the needs of all 30 of the children, where all might be doing the same activities, but at a different level, their different code level, whatever. And it's personal to the children with regards to, you know, their spelling, all of that kind of stuff that we're learning. Now on the explicit instruction, so we've got your core phonics and your sight words. This is where they learn the high frequency kicks, you know, it's just the kickstart to phonics. So 100 or so grapheme to phoneme correspondences that are used in the books, etc, etc, and 400 plus high frequency words here, again, that are all code mapped and monster mapped, which means that the app is doing the teaching, and in class the teacher is doing the monitoring and checking that every child is progressing quickly. This kickstart to mapping offers that solid foundation, so we know they've got phonemic awareness and orthographic knowledge. I tend to try not to say phonics if I can, because phonics means so much, you know, means different things to different people. So when we've got to here and we've got your 30 minutes of phonics, this is when they do 5 minutes of speedy, solo or paired mapping, where one child, if they're doing it in pairs, one person follows the sounds, the other person says the word. And that means that you can do it with children at different code levels. They go on to do their code level lesson, coding poster and that. So when they're doing it here, they're doing it with a buzzer and they're just getting on. The teacher's not actually doing anything. You know, if the teacher wasn't there for the day, the relief teacher, you know, can just basically sit there and just watch. So let's say we've got, so here are just some of the books out of the, you know, that you saw. So on the front of the books, it just so that we make sure we get them back in the right place. So this would be yellow code level. So supposing a child who is working at the yellow code level, so they can read this yellow code level reader, because we know that it's just got the graphemes in. We know that it's just got the graphemes in. Sorry, I don't like this 2-syllable, whatever else. That's not aligned with how I teach. You know, these are phonics readers, but not necessarily used in the way that perhaps they're used in other classrooms. But if a child is at the yellow code level, it means that they can read this. Now, you might have another child who is reading at the blue code level or purple code level. Let's find a purple code level. Let's use the same series. Oh, sorry, that's yellow. Not the right one. Okay, so supposing we've got someone who's at the purple code level. So when it's two children, one's at the purple code level, one's at the yellow code level, then what happens is the person who is pointing to the words is the person who's at the lower code level. The person who is following the sounds is the person at the higher code level. And that means that the child who is only doing these graphemes, it gives them a chance, and it gives the other child confidence, but it gives them a chance to have a look at graphemes that are in the higher code level. And because they point and their partner goes the and they have to blend it, the, they point to the next word, which means that then their partner, who is at the yellow code level and does know all of these graphemes, will go, and then me, who's at the purple code level, sees new graphemes that I'm not quite working at yet. And it's a partnership. It works really, really well. And obviously when you get to here, you know, children, just 5 minutes in the first activity, they're going it, was, night, it, and in, the, it, village, what is with, three, as corners. It was night in the village with 3 corners. So if they're doing it on their own, they're following the sound, say the word, because it's a lot easier to go, it was night in the village with the 3 corners. If you've also then got to map it and give the sounds, which is going to help with your spelling, because you're in effect encoding the words you know, it just raises the bar considerably. A lot of people think of font, that's why I don't like to use the word phonics. They think when the child's going it, that's phonics, and they're sounding it out because they can't read it and they're trying to work out the word. And that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm developing phonemic awareness, orthographic knowledge, which means if you know these words, that's great, but do you also know the mapping? Because if you know the mapping, then that means all of those words are going to store in your brain dictionary, your brain bank, and then you're going to be able to retrieve them for writing, for spelling. That means in addition to a child being able to read, you know, village, they're also going to be able to retrieve it and not spell it, you know, like that or whatever, or with a J, or, you know, because if they see that word and they recognize it's village, or they figured it out, and they're not also spelling it correctly, there's a mismatch between decoding and encoding. The mapping isn't secure, and that's why all of these activities are not just about reading, it's also about spelling as well. People will often say, oh, he's spelling phonetically. No, he's not. He's spelling thinking, I don't know how to spell that word, I can't remember it. You know, it's not stored in my word bank. It's not stored. So what I'm doing is thinking, okay, what are the representations I think of? That's often what they do in phonics. Well, in their phonics, they might have learned those representations for the sounds, but that's not enough. It's was. And our children, because we're constantly thinking, we're looking at the words and thinking, what is the mapping? You know, Lara or Amy or whatever would go, oh, I've got that letter in my name, but in my name it's an R and an A. Amy would say in my name it's an A, here it's an R. Where Oz was. So we're mapping. The mapping, the routine, helps the children retain.
What was? What was? 1, 2, 3. Was. What? Was. What was? Great job, Kenzie. Now, let's see if you can do it without lines and numbers. Okay. So, what? What was? Well done. Very good, Kenzie.
It's the mapping that matters far more than, yeah, great. So if anyone's ever teaching you telling you to teach high frequency words as whole words through rainbow colours or from however, whole words, whatever, that's really, really not good for the children. They need to know it's was, and the sound value. So show the monsters and z. Here we go. Was. Stan was on the tap. Was. They need to see it. Look, sound value, same letter, sound value, so, was. Look, the children walk by and deckhand them as they're walking by. Was. So they retain it. It stays in their, it stores in their brain word bank. Look, lovely Anne. Tuesday. We had Monday, now we've got Tuesday. And it's not in your plan. It's just, what's the day today? Let's map it. It's also really important when they're doing this speedy solo or paired, because look at this word. They might just read, Flop, bring that thing from the grass that says flip. But they might not have realised that the AY there mapped with the S sound. So deckhand says, you might use the S as says, but you could also say, just map that for me. Just use the monster routine. And quick as a flash, they get out their mat. Says. Says. Says, and then you can see that they are hearing the right sounds. So what are the pictures? What's the picture? What's the picture? Z. Says. Look, there's two S's there. This one, the sound value is S, and the sound value is Z. This one, the sound value is E. I don't know in phonics whether they actually look at the AI for the E sound, but really easy. Here, there's monster E. There are all the choices. And there's the one in says. Simple. So they're not memorising it, they're storing it. Says. Says. Do it again. Says. And next time they look at that word, well, they know the mapping. They understand, they are orthographically aware. That's how I get the children reading so quickly. So I want them out of this. This is your basic phonics kickstart. Recognising these are the ones tested in the UK Phonics Screener Check. I want them to be able to recognise all of these and use them in their decodable readers or whatever before the end of reception. They can pass the phonics screener before the end of their reception year. We're also using the Speedy 6 spelling activities. These are not at code level. The Speedy 6 activities are to develop phonemic and orthographic awareness, orthographic knowledge, working memory, vocab knowledge, etymology, morphology. These words are words that are just random words that are linked with whatever the children are learning about. Might be in science, might be something that happened with a child at home, whatever else. Something that means something to them that they can talk about, they're interested in. So the words in the Speedy 6 are not about code level. It's just about the children. It's concept driven. So it's just about using words to explore concepts. And the reason I get such good results is because I know my children. I couldn't possibly tell someone what to do with their Speedy 6 spelling because I don't know their children. I don't know the needs of their children. So this is something that is very, very much dependent on being just a teacher who understands your children. Rapid writing, I do this rapid writing activity because it's fast, because I can deal with sentence construction. They're learning to self-edit. We're thinking about grammar, punctuation, whatever, but it's fast. The children are really interested in the sentences we're writing because it's usually a really interesting photograph or something I've brought in. You know, it might just be a rock, but it's something that has got a story to it. We think about a sentence and they've got to write it and check. Anyway, it's in the training modules. Snap and crack is a really good fast comprehension activity, and that's why it's rapid, it's speedy. Can you see what's happening here? Snap and crack. You know, we're snapping a photo, we're cracking the comprehension really quickly, because this is about, you know, 20-minute activities, half an hour activity, Speedy 6, 25 minutes, rapid writing, 10-15 minutes, snap and crack, 10-15 minutes. They're fast activities that are geared to getting the children towards the stage of not needing any more of this, because we're into independent learning, implicit learning. They've got this huge word bank because we haven't limited them to just the phonics. And that's when we'll continue with things that we could do, whether someone's at university and doing a, you know, PhD, I could still do Speedy 6 and whatever else with them as I can with my grade 6, 7 children. Okay, so snap and crack is about cracking comprehension. It's about speed reading. It's about telling me exactly where in the text you found the answer. This is open already. You can do snap and crack with, you know, purple code level text. So early first few weeks of prep, snap and crack. So basically what we do it on the board or do it with, so you just number them. And what happens is you say to the children, did Flip spot something on the hill? And the children have got to answer it and tell you where they found the answer. So the answer would be, well, no, Flip didn't spot something in the hill. He spotted something in the grass. That's all in line 1. Flip spots a glint in the grass, not in the hill. So, you know, did he spot something in the hill? No, he didn't. Okay, well then tell me, what did Flip tell Flop to do? Well, Flip told Flop to bring the thing from the grass. 2 and 3. What's the thing? Something that was glinting. Anyway, it's 3 lines. And you can get so much, you know, I've got videos of teacher training where I've got 300 people in the room all doing this.
I might say a few children aren't at the code level, so I might say read it to yourself. But then yellow code level children, I'm going to read it for you. Where's my pointer? Mr. Pointer? Now I haven't got time, otherwise we are going to be here till 4 o'clock. So I might then speed code it for them. I any moment now. I check that the video is recording. It is! But I am too excited that I'll read to them. So children are reading it themselves, I'm decoding. I know my kids, so I know which children need some help, which don't. I need them as much as possible to actually see the text, to be reading it so that that part of the brain is being stimulated, so it's not just me reading it to them. My hands are trembling. This is no good. It will ruin the video. I sit down on the grass and steady the camera by resting my elbows on my knees. I take a deep breath and stare intently into the viewfinder. You can all read, so I don't know I'm reading it all to you. Okay, so it says...
What is Stan's mum doing or thinking?
So what's yours? Oh, it's the SSP one.
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
We've heard they're really good.
Yeah. Yes, said it again.
We've heard they're really good.
Oh, look at all these questions. So which page are you looking at? This one? Brilliant. Do you see just a few lines, how much you can get out of them?
Because it's got an exclamation mark, so you might be a bit angry because it's like, come on the pup.
Yes, perfect. So bring in how the punctuation changes your voice when you're reading it, yes. So you've got a Fitzroy, so we start Fitzroys at yellow with 1, and they can actually work all the way through. So even though 1 is very easy for a yellow level, just work all the way through. And the parents like the fact that when they finish that, they can go up to number 2, 3, 4, whatever, until they get to the stage where you just say, just choose what you want to read.
Okay.
How are you going? Which page are you on?
This one. Hawker went to the park. On the lawn he saw a dog. Hawker was ready to play.
Brilliant. So how are they going to know what he is?
Sorry?
So if we said to the children, what is Hawker?
Oh, because they'll look at the picture.
They look at the picture and they need to identify that. But could they deduce that he's a cat? How might they deduce?
Without the picture, they'd have to have read the other parts.
Yeah. But also they might say, well, Hawker went to the park, on the park he saw a dog. Now if it's a dog, Hawker's not likely to be a cat because the cats aren't generally likely to play.
Yes.
So we might think he's not a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even getting to that level of getting them to really think. It's how many words? Like 20 words and all of that comprehension you can get out of it.
Well, I like that.
Oh, look at this!
Oh, yeah, we're good.
Yes! Wow, which page? Which one are you looking at? Give me some examples.
First of all, who's the girl? And what sort of voice did Libby use? What sort of hair does Libby have? And how do you know? Because that's not in the text.
Perfect.
Why does Libby feel sad?
Have you ever had a time when no one would play with you?
Brilliant. So it makes it personal to them, so you get to know the
We
child.
made sure, because we suddenly went, oh, we didn't do any about the picture.
Yeah.
Wrote it down there, but would ask that up high.
Yes.
Because otherwise they'll work out, oh, at the end they're going to ask something about the picture.
Yes.
And then they're going to ask, how do I feel? You know, so
Yeah, perfect. Brilliant.
he was the boy.
Which page are you doing?
Oh, we're doing this. We were doing one each and we're having a try.
Perfect.
Practicing all our questions.
So how many questions did you get out of 2 lines?
A lot.
Brilliant.
This one particularly led us into speech marks as well.
Good.
And it doesn't actually indicate anywhere here who it was that said, let us run and get the bun.
Perfect.
So we're having to work out how the children will work out.
Yeah. Perfect. 20 minutes on as many questions as they can possibly think of, with even a little bit of text. And as you'll have seen if you're watching me teaching Luca, that's what I'm getting him to do now. So as he reads a page, he's then got to ask questions to his mum, or an imaginary person, as if he's the teacher. He's got to think of questions, because thinking of questions from the text, however basic, is a really good way to develop the strategies that are going to help us to do this when we've got more complex text. Where in the text did you deduce that? And sometimes it'll be in the picture, but again, the children need to tell me that, or it might be something about their experience. So do it with more complex text, just choose a page. So again, what the children do, or you do it on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And, you know, if you go out of the room for 20 minutes, not that teachers can go out of the room, but supposing you had a relief teacher or whatever doing this, the children can think of questions themselves. So, you know, who's sitting by the big fire? So they'll tell you who's sitting by the big fire, but you need to know they know where it is in the text, because otherwise children can just listen to you reading it and they just remember it. You know, you need to give them the option to read it with them. You know, I often do so we might, you know, we might do the solo or paired mapping first of all, but then, so what was the question you asked? Who was sitting with Grandfather Yellowhat? That's what I said. So then they would say Johnny and Jennifer were sitting with Grandfather Yellowhat by the big fire. Where? Number 2. Here, Johnny and Jennifer were sitting. And sometimes there's a bit there and a bit down here, whatever. And so they'll say, oh, line 2 and line 9. But you can see it's really simple, numbered, where in the text, so that I can find out if the children really are understanding and really are using how they're using the text to work out the answers. Okay, home reading. I want them to have code level readers until they get to the end of purple. Then they can have decodable readers, code level readers, and also the mapped books. But the children can just do it in the app. You know, so they're going from lesson end of purple, where at home they can read it, or ed read, or ed read, or ed read. So they're reading them. This is the regular page, so if you wanted to cover it up, you can see if they can read it without the help. A red ball, a red bus. But it, you know, they could cover it over like that if you wanted them to, or parents wanted them to. But then rather than the parent having to help them, if they're stuck, I read, oh, what is it? That might not look like a bus to them, so they can't even guess from the picture. So then they can look at the mapping and also the monsters. When we get to introductory books, so yellow code level, I would be starting a book club around the Village with Three Corners, where we talk about the books. We might write about the books. We might, you know, paint pictures. We might do all sorts of stuff. But I would have the club around the books, so that it becomes really meaningful. It's kind of more like project work. And we want the children to read. So we want them to go home and go, oh, yeah, I really want to read that, you know, story today. We started it in Snap and Crack, and it was a long story. Jennifer said, grandfather, tell us, grandfather said, Jennifer. And then the children might say, I want to know what it was all about. What's the long story? Well, said grandfather, it all began long ago. This is the story that Grandfather Yellow Hat told. Long, long ago, there were people living in the Village with Three Corners, just as there are today. Deep river ran past the village, and dark woods was there too, but it was a bit bigger then. And so, you know, the children get pretty obsessed with the book club, with the books, with the, you know, you can use the Snap and Crack we had. Wasn't just about comprehension. It's about picking apart a page, but getting children excited about what's going to happen next. So they want to read. Now I've put here, so this is when you're going out of this. So once the children, more or less, or the children off blue code level, you know, more or less the whole class, you know, you stop that half an hour there. So you've got an extra half an hour for real reading, you know, for more time for your book club really. And you're into the implicit sort of implicit learning stage where children are learning through reading. But I put here that all have spelling books, a record of their own personal spelling journey. Test those. Don't test random words or whatever. Test the words that matter to the children. The children were not spelling correctly in their writing, whether it's in their rapid writing, you might have noticed, but their free writing, because once they've graduated from this, you've got an extra half an hour, so you should be doing lots more writing. But when you're doing the writing, you've got time in that when they're writing to be doing lots of editing. But whilst they're writing, even in this stage, when they're doing their whatever writing they're doing, you need to get into the habit of doing this, and for children to have their own personal spelling book. So let's say we were doing a retell. Jennifer went to school. Let's say we're doing a retell, and then they're going to write it down, and somebody, you know, as I'm walking around, I can see someone has done this. Now, don't do more than 3 words, but what I do is I walk around and I just dot it. And what that means is get out your spelling book. If they've got space, they can map it here. But if they haven't, then get out your spelling book. So what they're going to do is they're going to write the word as they did it on their, in their work. They're going to write it and then they're going to code map it. Sk, ooh, school. So they're thinking, okay, well, I wanted sk, ooh, or school, sk, ooh, or school. And then as I come round, now a lot of the children will think, oh no, that's actually wrong, and they will change it. But what I need is that word there, how they did it the first time. But then as I come round, I'm going to go, oh, do you know, it's number 2. Let me show you the word. Okay, now do it again. So they're going to look at it and think, oh, okay, so it's actually, so it must be sk, ooh, or school, sk, ooh, or school. And in the book, you can see it's my writing. So when I go back and look through this, I can see that's what they did. That's what they mapped. That's what I wrote. That's what they mapped, because they might not map mine correctly. So I'm coming back, you know, because all of this time, I'm not just having to sit with them. I'm going around the 30 children. So then when I come back, I go, yeah, brilliant. Okay, now do it. Now I might get them to do the monster routine, or I might just get them to go sk, ooh, all school, sk, ooh, all school, sk, ooh, all school. So this, I might put the date or whatever. But this is a record for me, because I can go to their book and, like, on a Friday or whatever, I can say to the children, at the weekend, I want you to make sure that you've done this word, whatever. Don't too it depends on the child. And then on Monday, or you might have done it earlier, the test might be on a Friday, so you might have done this over the weekend. Then the following Friday, let's see if they've retained all week, they're the words that child's going to be practicing. Now, because I've got 30 children in the class, I can't go through a spelling test for 30 different, 30 children with all their, whatever. So what I usually do is, in pairs, they test each other. So, it might be just a list. So it might just be, in this week, these are the words. So it doesn't have to be sort of a dictionary kind of spelling thing. And by the way, all of these ideas are mine. So they're not things I've seen other people do, whatever else. These are mine ideas. So if you see this stuff, it's from me, and absolutely brilliant if you're copying it, but don't sell it, okay? Because I keep seeing stuff that I produce, create, talk about, and then all of a sudden it's included in somebody's training or somebody's resources or something, and they're calling it their own, and it's just, it's just rude. So anyway, so I might even just have a piece of paper for a week for that child, so that at the end of the week, their partner can say, right, school, and then, the partner holds that, and they test them on the words that they didn't get right. It's just so much more effective, because it's personalised spelling. So as they've come out of that, they're doing more reading. You just see that it starts to, it's not like on this date we're moving into phase 3 kind of thing, but you'll just find that this is what happens. It stops needing that. There might be 3 or 4 children that still need that 30-minute phonics routine, in which case, during that time, do something that means those children aren't going to miss out, but those children get some extra time. Or set up a club, 30 minutes, mapping club or whatever, and get older kids to help them get through, because they've got to recognise those graphemes, they've got to be able to read those graphemes in the code level words with fluency. And of course the SSP Spelling Piano app. If they're having fun, get them to have this at home so that they're playing and they're learning their graphemes. So, okay, so what's this one?
G, R, U, P.
So it'll give them the sounds, and they can either play it in the monsters, if you're checking phonemic awareness, or change it to the sound pics. So they've got to choose the right picture for G.
G.
They've got to choose the right picture for
R.
They've got to choose the right picture for ooh.
Ooh.
And then P.
P. Group. G, R, oop. Group. Group.
So the Spelling Piano app is just as much about teaching the children, because the Spelling Piano app is as much about teaching them the basic phonics they need, teaching them these graphemes. It's just a really quick and easy way, but it does it both ways. So speech to print and print to speech. Perfect, you got an A, perfect. So they can do it in the sound pics, or they can do it in monsters. What are the sounds? P, ect, perfect. Or they can do it in the graphemes. And then once they've done it, so we've got and if they're not sure, is next. P,
Perfect. 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 Perfect.
So use the Spelling Piano app if so the children can practice those graphemes at their level, but it's, as I say, practicing decoding and encoding them. So then we continue on with speedy, solo, paired, mapping with, real books. Speedy 6 spelling, you can actually reduce this to 4. I'll show you how in the online training. All have their spelling books, which is just talked about, so that you're testing those, and Lingualit is just a very fast way to get older children caught up. So all needs met, no scope and sequence. I mean, there's scope and sequence in that we can see the journey. We know the learning is the scope and sequence, if you like, but not in the sense that most people do with phonics programs, which is not concept driven, of getting the children to gradually become independent readers. It's very specific to graphemes, or very specific, it's just so slow and laborious, and often isn't even relevant to most of the children in the class. So this is phase 2 leading into phase 3 of how I get at least 90% of children reading before they leave kindergarten, before they go into grade 1. Now, you should know if the children can recognise, so code recognition. You should know if they can form the letters, but you can track. So can they follow the sound, say the word? Can they do it if it's not even a real word? Can they say the word, duck, hands, lines and numbers? Can they do the rap? Oh, didn't even go through the rap, there's so many activities. Speedy sentences, can they read the speedy sentences? Can they spot which is the wrong one? Or rather spot which is the best one? Which is the best sentence? Can they hold a sentence? This is part of speedy 6. So that means if you say the sentence without showing it to them, the ant naps on the pin, and you can say it twice, and then can they so they basically hold it, write it, read it, check it, change it if they need to. Anyway, that's part of speedy 6. Can they write the sentence? So if you dictate it, can they write it? Because that will tell you working memory issues, whatever. Word recall, we do that. There's all sorts that I do just to, if I do need to sort of give data to people. And then, of course, we've got the student sheets that you just print off just to check. So you can have assessment tools, but you should really know. But what I'm doing is a huge wall. So you basically print off all the tiles and put them all together on a big wall, which means that the children can see how they're going. So here you can see the progressions, or what I'm working on with the graphic designers, which is part of why I'm just putting all of this up and whatever, is because I'm putting up tiles so that we can put it all together in a massive great wall, and the children can see all the activities and they know, can I do that? What am I doing? Where am I going next? Because this has to all be about them. And you'll actually find that it's pretty self-directed. I mean, a lot of the teachers in prep doing this, or that are allowed to do this, say to me sort of by term 3, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I don't need to be here. And it's because the children are just getting on as if they're not even there. And isn't that what teaching should all be about? Shouldn't it be about less teaching and more learning? Interactive library, because these books are just wonderful. Market Sleeping, it's the town near the village with 3 corners. The children just really get obsessed with the whole series, the whole, they make up their own stories, they're painting, they're writing poems. Have a Village with 3 Corners book club. Can you see here? So the book 1A, 4A, 11, this is showing that those stories relate to this part of, have a look at, The Old Man's House, book 5, etc. It just all comes together so beautifully. And the magic wood, it's just brilliant. I mean, I'm getting a little bit frustrated because I've been sort of trying to explain how to do all of this for 10 years or so, what might happen is I might just say to people, look, this is how I do it. I might go and I might have a class where people can come and watch me and I teach and whatever. So it's like a lab. So it's like a learning lab. I'll have to do that with little children because obviously before they go to school. So if I've got children who are 4 years old coming in doing all of this, that might be an option. So rather than me keep having to try and explain all this, if you actually can see it, but it might just be that I just focus on the books, the 1, 2, 3 and away books, making them interactive, making them really exciting, and so that you just add those in to whatever program, phonics program or whatever you have to use to at least get children excited about reading and reading.